With spring ball returning in 3 weeks to the University of Alabama, we are back from the break on In My Own Words, the podcast, Touchdown Alabama magazine. Stephen M. Smith got a chance to look over the finalization of Alabama's football coaching staff for 2018. Also, former Alabama quarterback A.J. McCarron winning his grievance from the Cincinnati Bengals, and as of March 14th, an unrestricted free agent will have a chance to go somewhere else and be a potential starting quarterback. But now we dive into my 5 impact leaders for Crimson Tide football going into spring, summer workouts, fall camp, and more importantly, the 2018 college football season. And at number 1, gotta look at running back Damien Harris. Damien Harris coming off back-to-back 1,000-yard seasons. 2016, 1,037 yards, 2 touchdowns. This past season, right on the head of 1,000 yards with 11 scores, averaged 7.41 yards per carry. 2017, 135 carries, 1,000 yards. As I mentioned, 11 touchdowns for Damien Harris, and a season in which he really had the fire, the passion, played with a lot of energy and a lot of motivation, seeing how this past season was set up for Bo Scarborough to have a lot of success. In 2016, we all remember he started to really surge down the stretch of that year, played well against Tennessee, but really showed out against LSU, Auburn, Florida in the Southeastern Conference Championship game. Of course, he set a Alabama Bowl record in the college football playoff semifinal, the Chick-fil-A Peach Bowl against Washington, 19 carries for 180 yards and 2 touchdowns. Then, of course, the college football playoff national championship against Clemson, 16 carries for 93 yards and 2 touchdowns prior to going down with a broken leg. But 2017 was supposed to have been Bo Scarborough's year. It did not become that. Damien Harris, the one that showing patience in the hole, busting big-time runs, whether it be runs of 75 yards, 71 yards, just a lot of 50-plus yard runs. Quite a few of those types of runs from Damien Harris this past season really set him apart. He ran with such a swagger to him, had an edge to him, like I mentioned, a passion to him. And for a lot of Tide fans, the feeling was that Bo Scarborough and Damien Harris would both leave after the 2017 season. That was not the case. Bo Scarborough deciding to declare for the NFL draft. Damien Harris comes back to Alabama for his senior year, to the surprise of a lot of people. And with him showing that senior leadership, with him being a part of that leadership council for Alabama, and then also with how good the passing game is expected to be in the upcoming season, Damien Harris has the opportunity to be the first back in Alabama history to have 3 consecutive 1,000-yard seasons. So he comes back for a shot of history, or a shot at history. He comes back for a chance to really improve his draft stock and show not only the fan base, but also the entire country as to why he was a dynamic 5-star prospect in the 2015 signing class. But then also comes back for a chance to win another national championship and to be more of that pivotal reason why Alabama gets that championship, and instead of being a guy in the background behind Bo Scarborough. So Damien Harris, number 1 impact leader, smart guy, intelligent guy. But this past season, he added the speed, the vision, the muscle, the weight, the tenacity to him to be a number 1 power-packed impact player. I got Damien Harris. At number 2, leaders going into spring ball, I look at Jerry Jeudy, wide receiver, rising sophomore. And I know a lot of people would have stated Why not put a quarterback here? Why not put a Jalen Hurts? Why not put a Tua Tagovailoa? Why not put a quarterback here? I could have put a quarterback here. But Nick Saban is going to hold that quarterback card close to the vest. We know how Nick Saban is. He's not going to sit there and name a quarterback in spring ball. Though every media pundit, though every fan will tell you square in your face, look, you saw how Tua played at the national championship game, despite it only being one half of football. You know this is Tua's job. You know Tua has basically separated himself from the pack. You know this has got to be Tua's job. But once again, we all know how Nick Saban operates. He's not going to name a quarterback in spring ball. He's not going to name a quarterback in fall camp. He's going to name a quarterback at the very end of the process as we get into the first game of the regular season. And he's going to give both guys, Jalen and Tua, the opportunity to really show whoever wins this out, outrightly wins this out, is going to be very much so set for the upcoming season. Saban likes to toy with the emotions of people when it comes down to the quarterback. Likes to toy with the emotions of people and have the person or the candidate in question win the job outright. But whoever wins the job outright, you got to have a premier number one guy to throw the ball to. Jerry Jeudy looks to be that premier number one guy. I've gotten the chance to talk to multiple credible sources that I know around this program, whether they be players, media pundits, just guys that I have been able to speak to. Jerry Jeudy this entire offseason thus far has been putting in work. One source told me, I've never seen Jeudy work this hard to get better at being a number one premier guy, a number one route runner, a number one dependable target. Jeudy has been working on his route running, his speed, catching passes, showing that type of leadership that Alabama needs to have from one of its growing young stars. Alabama currently right now in its fourth quarter program, which is directed by the head strength and conditioning coach, Scott Cochran. Jerry Jeudy this past season, 14 catches for 264 yards, 2 touchdown receptions, both coming against, one coming against Vanderbilt, the other one against Auburn in last year's Iron Bowl. Jeudy also had 1 catch for 20 yards against Georgia in the national championship game, 5-star out of Deerfield Beach High School in Deerfield, Florida. So, just thinking about this 2017 wide receiver class for just a minute, and I talked about it, this class of receivers takes a backseat to nobody. Under Nick Saban, you usually see one big-time, one marquee receiver, and a bunch of supporting cast players. 2017, Jerry Jeudy's a standout, Devonta Smith is a stud, Henry Ruggs is a stud, even Tyro Shavers, who did not see the field at all last year, from talking to people, this is a poor man's version of Julio Jones. So when I look at Jerry Jeudy, people comparing him to Calvin Ridley, people comparing him to Amari Cooper because of his size, his speed, his athletic abilities, his hands, his expertise, as I should say, to make plays in space or very little space there being. He's got a chance to really either be a slot guy or a vertical passing deep ball threat downfield. And you saw it a lot of times last year where he was able to create separation, was wide open, yelling and screaming, hey, I'm open, I'm open, I'm open. Jalen Hurts just not being able to see him a lot of the times last year and release the football upon this individual, upon Jerry Jeudy being open. But he's number 2 on my list. Impact leaders. A lot of the times, very frustrated about not getting the ball, but when he did get a chance to touch the football, you saw the explosion, you saw the big playability, you saw a lot of the positives from Jerry Jeudy. At number 3 for me, I'm flipping this over to defense. And I look at Isaiah Buggs on the defensive line. Now, I could have mentioned Quinnen Williams. I could have mentioned LeBron Ray. I could have mentioned Raekwon Davis. Raekwon Davis and Isaiah Buggs both will be high on draft boards when you discuss the 2019 venue being the draft and the combine. But I brought in Isaiah Buggs because this guy has a motor and a tenacity that you cannot question. A young man that came out of high school with literally no offers. A guy that came out of the JUCO ranks, Mississippi Gulf Coast Community College, with literally little to no offers. And he plays with a zeal and an edge to him at 6'5", 287 pounds now. This past season, 51 tackles, 4 of those for loss, 1.5 sacks, was second on the team in quarterback hurries with 7, falling behind Daron Payne. And Buggs against Texas A&M really had his breakout moment. 10 tackles, which was a season high, and right now stands as a career high. Played his butt off in the college football playoff against Clemson and Georgia, really making life difficult for the likes of Kelly Bryant and also Jake Fromm. Really like the focus that Isaiah Buggs brings to the table. Brings a lot of focus along that defensive line, and he's somebody that I can really see the sack numbers come up, the tackles for loss come up. Remember Jaron Reed, his first year at Alabama, which was, I believe, 2014. He played well 2014, but 2015, Alabama winning the national championship that year, the first matchup between the Tide and the Clemson Tigers. But that whole 2015 season, you really saw Jaron Reed. The tackles came up, the tackles for loss came up, the sacks came up, the quarterback, all of his production numbers came up as he ended up being a second-round pick in the 2016 NFL Draft to the Seattle Seahawks. So Buggs kind of falling in that same line as a Jaron Reed. Next season, expect his numbers to increase. But he's number 3 on my impact leaders, impact players going into next season. At number 4, Mack Wilson, linebacker. He came in, or was recruited in 2016 as an outside guy, but Mack Wilson this past season learned both the inside and the outside roles and did a stand-up good job. 40 tackles, 2.5 of those for loss, 2 pass breakups, 4 quarterback hurries, a team-high 4 interceptions. That lateral quickness, that sideline coverage, those quick hands, the ability to break on the ball, be instinctive in the passing lane, be instinctive in dissecting the run, bringing that hard-hitting, boomstick tackle mentality. Mack Wilson's got that. And also had a pick 6 against Clemson in the college football playoff semifinal, reading the eyes of Kelly Bryant, breaking on the pass, Levi Wallace tipping the pass in the air, Wilson Johnny on the spot with the pick, returning it for a touchdown, giving Alabama that 24-6 victory in Mercedes-Benz Superdome, New Orleans, Louisiana. Now, Wilson did battle a foot injury against LSU, was able to come back against Auburn, played some of that in the Iron Bowl matchup, but coming into next season, you're looking at a guy, especially in spring ball, that's going to play some inside and also some outside with that. Dylan Moses will be the guy more than likely that will start at inside backer, the freshman this past season from Baton Rouge, Louisiana. Played well. Had about 30 tackles, about 2 or 3 of those for loss. Did have an interception against Mercer a season ago prior to him sustaining a slight injury headed into the college football playoff. Was a freshman All-SEC selection. Bona fide athlete, strong player, high IQ as far as breaking down plays, very, very athletic. But I look at Mack Wilson coming into his junior year, already proclaiming that he's going to win that Butkus Award, which goes annually to the nation's top linebacker. Mack Wilson number 4 on this list. He's got the special teams down, was able to learn a number of roles on defense at that backer position. Really like what Mack Wilson brings to the table. And also, as I mentioned, the same with Isaiah Buggs, the same with Raekwon Davis, Mack Wilson high on draft boards when you talk Bucky Brooks, Mike Mayock, Mel Kiper Jr., Todd McShay. Last but not least, Deontay Thompson at number 5 in that defensive backfield. In a backfield, we all know losing Minkah Fitzpatrick, Ronnie Harrison, Tony Brown, Levi Wallace, Hootie Jones, Anthony Everett to the NFL. Deontay Thompson, who was the understudy to Fitzpatrick during last year in spring practice, summer workouts, fall camp, and the college football season. He covers like Minkah, hits like Ronnie Harrison at 6'2", crossing that 200-pound benchmark frame there. 25 tackles, a pass breakup, did have an interception against Mercer, played well in the college football playoff, and filling in for Hootie Jones. And he's a guy that, when you talk to players around this program, he's got that throwback defensive back mentality. That throwback guy that has energy, passion, edge, determination. Deontay just wants to be out there. And here's a guy that was fluctuated between wide receiver and defensive back when he came into that 2015 signing class. Really did not get settled into being a DB until, this past season. Now, he was switched there completely in 2016, but he didn't quite get that feeling that he could hone in on skills as a defensive back, as a safety, until this past year. Understandably so, Alabama bringing back Shaheem Carter, Trevon Diggs, Nigel Knott, Jared Maiden, Xavier McKinney, Kyrick McDonald, players like that. But then also you have Savion Smith, Patrick Surtain Jr., Jalen Armour Davis, Josh Jobe, of whom you've signed in this 2018 class. And a lot of this is going to come down to how Tosh Lapointe is going to be able to direct the secondary, as he is a defensive coordinator, defensive play caller. But having a guy like a Deontay Thompson back, somebody that's seasoned, that's played in the secondary before, that's got some experience, as well as some big plays on special teams. Really excited to see what this young man can do, as it will be his secondary moving forward. Running back over this list now. Top 5 impact players, impact leaders going into spring, which is once again, guys, 3 weeks, 21 days away for the Crimson Tide. I'm excited about it. But number 1, running back Damian Harris. Number 2, wide receiver Jerry Jeudy. Number 3, defensive end Isaiah Buggs. Number 4, linebacker Mack Wilson. Number 5, safety Deontay Thompson. We go to our final break here on this edition of In My Own Words, the podcast. Once again, check out the podcast, subscribe to the Touchdown Alabama Magazine YouTube channel. Also, give that podcast a like. Leave all comments. Want to hear from you, Alabama fans, the smart fans that know about your team and want to understand more about your team. Subscribe to the Touchdown Alabama YouTube network. Also, follow the brand on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. Upon our return, the Combine's here. NFL Combine is here. All 336 participants have arrived in Indianapolis, Indiana, Lucas Oil Stadium. And of the 14 University of Alabama standouts, which leads the Southeastern Conference and leads the NCAA, I'm laying out 6 players that have to stand out, that have to separate themselves from the pack. Who are those 6 players? We'll get to that on the other side of the break. Don't touch that dial, folks. We'll be back. It's your boy, Stephen M. Smith, host of In My Own Words, the podcast. If you are a fan of this show, then I encourage you to subscribe to the Touchdown Alabama Magazine YouTube channel. Also follow the brand on Facebook, Twitter, and other forms of social media as we continue to bring you the best in Alabama football and Crimson Tide athletics.